Creating an enabling environment for entrepreneurs to thrive is very, very important. Amongst us today are the believers, are the innovators, are the disruptors, are those people who dare to dream. And it's very, very important for us to give them the support that they deserve, because these are the people that are the future of our country that will contribute towards its success. There's a lot of noise that's happening, but I think if you're an entrepreneur, this is one opportunity for you to find a way and path and charter the way forward and contribute towards our economy. So SiMODiSA, it's an industry association for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs, and it's about creating that nurturing environment for high growth, high impact SMEs in our country. On my left-hand side, I have Dov Gernan, and he's the founder and CEO of Merchant Capital. And then I have Vuyo Kazi Dlamini, and she's the executive editor of BRICS Journal. And then on my right-hand side, I have Kobacha. He's a serial entrepreneur who has been involved in various organizations such as NetFlorist, NetActive, OrdJet, iPartners Africa, which is a venture capital outfit. And most importantly, he is the chairman of the National Mentorship Movement.
This is like get to know each other, right? You're one of those, okay. I went to live in London after I finished a degree at Wits with a backpack on, like a lot of us do. And I went there with my rands, and at that time the exchange rate was 22 to 1, so we're doing okay. I'll never forget that exchange rate. So I had enough funds to last me about 6 weeks. And in the beginning, while I was looking for a real job, I had to do anything and everything that I could do to earn some money to pay rent and pay for food. So I actually can't believe I'm telling you all of this, but I actually starred in a Robbie Williams video.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nice.
But hold on, here's the good thing. My role was that I had to play dead. So I had to lay on the floor and play dead, but I got paid £300 and it got me through the week. So that's my claim to fame.
Wow, well done.
I always get teased by my fellow schoolmates, people that I've went to varsity with. They're like, there's Vuyo the big dreamer, but you're the chief dreamer. Because every time I meet someone, I always have an idea, or someone wants to share their idea with me, and we dream together, and yeah, I'm a chief dreamer.
I think the aspect of my life that I'm most proud of, which is just being married to a wonderful woman and having some wonderful children.
Amazing. How do you top that, guys?
We're a business that provides working capital to entrepreneurs in South Africa. We founded the business 3.5 years ago. We've provided thousands of small businesses with access to working capital. And we have a very disruptive product in the sense that it's completely different to what small business owners experience with traditional banks. So we provide a cash advance which is actually based on previous turnover. The application process is exceptionally quick and simple and frictionless. You can have the money in 24 to 48 hours. But the best part about the product is that there's actually no fixed repayment term. So unlike a traditional loan where it's 12, 24, 36 months, our product doesn't have a fixed repayment term, but rather the repayments fluctuate directly in line with how the business transacts. So if you're a business and you're having a good month, then the repayments to us increase. But invariably, and there seems to be a lot of people wearing green stickers here, so you'll know entrepreneurs have peaks and troughs, or businesses have peaks and troughs. When the turnover dips, the repayments to us reduce in line as well. So it's a genuine partnership model where we share in the good times with the business owners, and when times are bad, we hold their hand and feel the pain with them.
BRICS stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. It's a geopolitical organization that was founded in the early 2000s. And if you're following the news, it's always a high-level conversation when the BRICS ministers and presidents get together. So we exist to bring that conversation down to the people. And it's a publication that has economics, entrepreneurship, politics, and a bit of arts and culture. When I was invited to be part of the project, I realized that people do business with people that they know and like. So, and the world is becoming, it's big, but it's becoming smaller and smaller. And with BRICS, it gives entrepreneurs and people an opportunity to access opportunities, in Brazil, in Russia, in India, China, and South Africa. So we exist to say, if I know what a Russian is drinking, if I know they're drinking vodka, if I know that what they're reading, if I know what they eat, if I know what they wear, I'm most likely to do business with a Russian than a Turkish that I don't know. So we're trying to then, expose each other's cultures and trends and those nuances, how to do business in India, for example.
It's really around trying to create a movement around mentorship. All of us have had experiences where those who know more than us have been able to transfer knowledge to those of us who know less. And to the extent the person is passionate about transferring that knowledge, cares about us, is reasonably articulate, to that extent we tend to be affected by that information and do good things with it and transform. And so the National Mentorship Movement was really about taking that principle and trying to apply it at scale into the country. We all know that the unemployment rate is sitting around 40%. If you include those who have given up on trying to find a job, that's a disaster. If you look at the first world countries like America, it's sitting at 5%. We know that more businesses fail than start every single year. More businesses fail than start. So we've got a net loss in the economy. That means the unemployment rate is getting higher and higher. And so there's a desperate need to try and assist people in their startup phase, in their growth phase, etc. We know that from research that the number one impactor of business success is actually mentorship, and it makes sense. So for all those reasons, we've started a movement to try and increase the number of mentors and mentee-mentorship relationships in the country. So the dream in 5 seconds is to recruit 100,000 mentors. It's a big number, 100,000, to mentor 1 million businesses and add a couple of million jobs to the economy. Not a simple talk, flipping complicated. We're getting some nice progress, but it's a tall order. But imagine if we could do that. Imagine what would happen to this country.
Dolph, tell us about your own personal mentorship journey. I mean, for you to be where you are today, there must have been a couple of hands that nurtured you. Tell us a little bit about that.
Following what Paul was saying, I genuinely believe that mentorship is definitely the top 3 in business success. In fact, I just finished reading a book, for those of you that enjoy reading books. It's by a guy by the name of Tim Ferriss, and he's a world famous podcaster. So he's got a book, it's called The Tools of Titans, and what he actually did was he interviewed sorry, I'm going a little bit off topic, but I'll get to it. He interviewed the most successful people in the world, but not just businessmen. So sports stars, doctors, politicians, and CEOs of businesses. And it's a fascinating book because they're pretty much short stories, but he asks the same questions to every single successful person. And, for example, like, what is your morning routine? And there's a common thread across every single one of these things, and having a mentor is one of them. So, I think it's definitely something which is sometimes overlooked, but it is very important. On a personal note, I have been rather fortunate as well to have mentors, and I think, as Paul says, sometimes you don't realize that you're being mentored. But later on in life, I became cognizant of it and have made a great effort. And what I've personally done is try to find mentors that are out of my comfort space. So I think what I've tried to do is find a mentor who challenges me and who's actually quite cold and honest. You don't want your father to be a mentor because he's going to tell you how great you are, or depending on what your father's like. But you've got to find someone who doesn't always have they need to have your best interest at heart, but they need to be subjective at times. And just lastly, I'm part of a global entrepreneurial network called Endeavour. I'm not sure if anybody knows about Endeavour here. And Endeavour is built on mentorship. So one of the things that attracted me to actually apply to become an Endeavour entrepreneur, and one goes through an extremely grueling process to get there, is once you become an Endeavour entrepreneur, you get access to global mentors. So you can literally cherry pick globally who you want your advisory board to be and who your mentors would be.
Vuyo, the reason why you are here is because you're wonderful and beautiful and gorgeous. But also you're one of those... I balance it quite nicely. You're also one of those young people that I've engaged with in the past, and you've always had these ideas. and also your journey to mentorship has been quite well documented. So Wendy Luhabe, who's a very inspirational woman in our country, businesswoman, has been lauded. She's actually a lady, if I'm not mistaken, Lady Wendy Luhabe. I do ask forgiveness.
Doctor.
And doctor. So she's been your mentor, and I just wanted you to share your journey with other mentors that you've had, and also basically the mentorship relationship that you have with her.
In my family, I'm the first to go into university. So, like, you're going to university? Why? That's my dad. I'm the first to leave the province, to leave the country, come to Joburg.
Wow.
And, you know, so I didn't have anyone that I could say, hi mom, I'm doing this, how do I go about it? So because I was such a big dreamer, I had to find somebody, you know, to annoy and ask questions all the time. And my first real mentor was Khanyi Dlomo, because I then went on to study journalism at Rhodes University, and I came to Joburg. And I even appeared on the cover with her on the mentor-mentee issue. But in my growth as a person, I also found the importance of the role of the mentee, that it's not a please help me, you know, all the time. You also, there's, you know, a mentee. There's something that I have to do to make the relationship fulfilling. And sometimes you grow out of a relationship and you have to move on to the next person. And Wendy came at a very, you know, perfect time in my life where I was moving from being a journalist, you know, being in the newsroom and being a writer, to wanting to be an entrepreneur. And you know, I also stalked her. I offered to walk her to her car when I bumped into her in Hyde Park. And it's, yeah, she's also from mentor to becoming, she calls herself my Joburg mom, where she's my go-to person. I feel like she's right there as a woman, and I appreciate her values, even though we're not in the same industry. But, you know, if you have the basics, you know, value system and how to be a young woman trying to take over the world. She's even said, I can't mentor you on this, go find a mentor. I'm like, what do you mean? You're my mentor. So she's not selfish to say, go out there, or here's a contact, go talk to this person, because it's specific to what you need.
And then Paul, in terms of a successful mentor-mentee relationship, what does that look like?
Probably the most important quality is commitment. That the mentor and mentee have to be committed to the relationship. It's not simple. As you've mentioned, sometimes you can outgrow a mentor. Sometimes you can feel there's really not a fit, and that presents challenges. I think there also has to be very real, authentic communication. I think that sometimes mentees feel a little bit intimidated and might not express their fears, might often feel like they're taken advantage if they ask too much, you know, if they ask for a meeting on a regular basis. And that's not helpful to a mentor-mentee relationship. It's really important to initially kind of create a framework that centers around commitment and honesty, and set some real goals for the relationship, not just business goals for the relationship, but in terms of relationship goals. How are we going to work together? What are some of the challenges we might, you know, hit up against? You know, what are some of the risks in this relationship? So I think that just being real is very important. I think care is a big one. I think that for relationships to really flourish, they need to be based on like integrity and I think empathy more than anything. I think that wanting to help someone else relies on me feeling a deep wellspring of care and love and empathy for the other person, and a deep, deep desire to want to facilitate that person's journey in the best way that I can. You know, so I think if there's real commitment, real honest communication, so there's less likelihood of miscommunication. I think there's a deep empathy and care. Then I think there's a real possibility of a really beautiful relationship emerging, and some real sharing of values and experiences. You know, a real mentor-mentee relationship is so special for both parties, not just for the mentee. You know, there's something really beautiful and meaningful about helping another person on their journey. So I think it can be very special for a mentor as well.